This happened when I was 24, and it's the reason I will never buy used electronics from strangers again. I had just moved into a small apartment outside Columbus, Ohio. Money was tight, so instead of buying a brand new security system, I went browsing online for something cheap. That's when I found it. A used indoor security camera, barely touched, selling for less than half the retail price. The seller met me in a grocery store parking lot. Middle-aged guy, quiet, barely made eye contact. He handed me the box, I paid cash, and that was it. At the time, nothing felt off. That night, I set the camera up in my living room. My apartment was on the first floor, facing a dimly lit parking lot. I figured it wouldn't hurt to have some extra security, especially since I lived alone. The camera connected to an app on my phone. Everything seemed normal. Clear video, smooth motion tracking, even night vision. For the first couple of days, it worked perfectly. Then I noticed something strange. I was at work when I got a notification. Motion detected. That wasn't unusual. Cars passing outside sometimes triggered it. But when I opened the app, I saw something that made my stomach drop. The camera had turned. I was sure I had positioned it facing the front door, but now it was angled slightly toward my hallway. I told myself maybe I bumped it without realizing. Maybe it wasn't tightened properly. Still, something about it felt off. That night, I checked it again before bed. I adjusted it carefully, making sure it stayed fixed in place. Then I went to sleep. Around 2:30 a.m., my phone buzzed again. Motion detected. Half asleep, I opened the app. The living room looked normal at first. Dark, quiet, empty. Then I noticed it. The hallway light was on. I always turn that light off before going to bed. My chest tightened. I sat up in bed, staring at the screen. The camera slowly adjusted its focus, like it was tracking something. But there was nothing there, or at least, nothing I could clearly see. I grabbed my phone and stepped out of my bedroom. The hallway light was on, exactly like in the video, but the apartment was empty. No signs of forced entry, doors locked, windows shut. Well, I barely slept that night. The next day, I started going through the app settings, trying to figure out what was going on. That's when I found something I hadn't noticed before. Another user was connected. There was a secondary account linked to the camera. I didn't set that up. I tried removing it, but it wouldn't let me. The option was grayed out. That's when it really hit me. Someone else still had access. That night, I unplugged the camera. I didn't want to deal with it anymore. But around midnight, curiosity got the better of me. I plugged it back in, just to check. The moment it powered on, the camera moved. Not slightly, not by accident. It turned smoothly, directly toward my bedroom door. I froze. I hadn't touched it. And then my phone buzzed. A notification popped up. Live view active on another device. I didn't breathe. Whoever had access was watching. Right then, I yanked the cord out of the wall so fast I nearly dropped the camera. For a few seconds, I just stood there. But then, heart pounding, a soft noise, listening. From outside, silence, like footsteps on gravel. I slowly moved toward the window and peeked through the blinds. There was a car parked across the street, engine running, lights off. And I swear, I could see someone sitting inside, facing my apartment. I didn't wait. I grabbed my keys, left everything else, and drove straight to a friend's place. The next day, I contacted the company that made the camera. They confirmed what I feared. The previous owner never removed their access. They told me it could be reset manually, but I never tried. I threw the camera away. What still bothers me isn't just that someone was watching, it's that they knew exactly where to point it. Like they weren't just looking into my apartment, they were looking for me. This happened when I was 19, and it's why I never stop for strangers on empty roads, no matter what they're doing. I was driving back home through rural Arizona after visiting a friend. It was late, close to midnight, and the highway was almost completely empty. Just long stretches of darkness and the occasional passing truck. About 30 miles from the nearest town, I saw him. A man standing on the side of the road, holding a camera. At first I thought he was just some night photographer, maybe capturing the desert sky or something. But as I got closer, I realized he wasn't pointing the camera at the sky. He was pointing it at the road, at cars, at me. As I passed him, I glanced in the rearview mirror. He turned, slowly, following my car with the camera lens. That alone was weird. But I kept driving. About 10 minutes later, I noticed headlights behind me. That wasn't unusual, but something felt off. The road had been empty for miles. The car kept its distance at first. Then slowly, it started getting closer. Too close. My grip tightened on the steering wheel. The headlights flickered once, then twice, like a signal. I sped up slightly. So did they. That's when I noticed something chilling. Through my rearview mirror, I could see the driver's arm extended out the window, holding something, a camera, pointed directly at me, taking pictures. My chest tightened. I hit the gas. The car behind me accelerated immediately. Now it was obvious. They were following me. I tried to stay calm, scanning the road ahead for any signs of a gas station or exit. Nothing, just darkness. The car behind me suddenly flashed its high beams, blinding me for a second. Then it swerved slightly into the other lane, like it was trying to get beside me. I panicked. I slammed the accelerator. My car pushed past 80, then 90. The engine strained, but I didn't care. I just needed distance. But they kept up. And then, another flash. This time, not headlights, a camera flash, bright, right in my mirrors. They were taking photos, over and over. I didn't understand why. But I knew I needed to get out of there. Finally, I saw something ahead. A rest stop. I swerved off the highway and pulled in fast. Lights, people, safety. The car behind me slowed, then kept going. Didn't follow me in, didn't stop. Just disappeared back onto the highway. I sat there in my car for a long time, shaking. Eventually, I went inside and told someone what happened. They suggested I call the police. I did. Gave them the details. They took it seriously. But nothing ever came of it. No reports, no sightings, nothing. Weeks later, I was still thinking about it. Then one night, I got a message request on social media from an account with no name, no profile picture, just one message, a photo. It was my car, from behind, on that highway, and in the reflection of my rear window, you could see my face, looking scared. I blocked the account immediately, never heard from them again. But I still think about that night, because whoever was behind that camera wasn't just taking pictures, they were collecting something. And I don't think I was the first. This happened when I was 27, and it's the reason I check every room before I ever stay anywhere new. I had booked a weekend Airbnb in a quiet neighborhood just outside Portland, Oregon. It looked perfect, clean, modern, and affordable. I was traveling alone, just needed a break. When I arrived, everything seemed normal. The host had left a key under the mat. The house was spotless. Minimalist decor, soft lighting, big windows. It felt safe, comfortable. That first evening, I settled in, made some food, and watched TV in the living room. Nothing unusual, but around 10 p.m., I noticed something strange. A small blinking light. It was faint, barely noticeable, coming from a shelf across the room. At first, I thought it was part of some electronic device, maybe a router or something. But the more I looked at it, the more it didn't make sense. It was tucked behind a decorative object, almost hidden. My stomach tightened. I stood up and walked over, carefully, slowly, and then I saw it. A tiny camera lens, pointed directly at the couch, at me. My heart started pounding. I stepped back immediately, tried to stay calm, told myself maybe it was part of a security system. But why hide it? Why not disclose it? I grabbed my phone and started checking the rest of the house. That's when things got worse. The bedroom, another one, facing the bed, smaller, better hidden, and then the bathroom. I didn't even want to believe it. But behind the vent, another lens. That's when panic hit. This wasn't security. This was surveillance. I felt sick, like I had already been watched, for hours, maybe longer. I grabbed my keys, but before leaving, I hesitated. Part of me wanted proof, so I took photos of every camera I could find. Then I got out, fast, sat in my car, shaking, trying to figure out what to do. I called the police. They arrived within 20 minutes. I showed them everything. They went inside, checked the house, and confirmed it. Hidden cameras, multiple, all wired to a recording system in a locked cabinet. The host was arrested the next day. Apparently, I wasn't the first. There were recordings, dozens of them, guests who had no idea. That part still makes my skin crawl. But what really stuck with me happened afterward. A detective told me something I wish I could forget. He said the cameras weren't just placed randomly, they were positioned intentionally, angles chosen carefully, to capture specific moments, specific behaviors. Like someone had studied exactly where people feel most private, most relaxed, most unaware. I still travel, but I never trust a place right away, because sometimes the scariest thing isn't being alone, it's thinking you are